Hello, my name is Attorney Spencer Parr. I'm a workers' compensation attorney in the state of Washington. I'm a 16-year workers' compensation attorney, co-founder of Washington Law Center, one of the biggest workers' compensation firms in the state. Today I want to talk to you about pro se litigation. What does it mean to be pro se? Well, it means that you're representing yourself. There's an old saying that the person who represents themselves, they have a fool for a client. And the reason attorneys say that, the reason judges say that, the reason that's the saying in the profession is that honestly, if you don't know how the process works, how the court rules work, how everything has to go, you're going to be at a very significant disadvantage to the people on the other side who have an attorney who knows all of those things. So you may have at first felt a little bit comfortable because you met your judge. He or she is a very decent person. You have it in your mind that, well, if I just tell my story, then everything will work out. That's how it's supposed to go. I've believed in the system of justice since, I was a child, and my parents told me that we have a system of justice that will take care of me. Wrong. That's not how it works. You see, the judge is limited in what they can do to assist you. If the other side believes that the judge has crossed the border between just merely asking the basic questions that need to be asked and going into some kind of detail where there is an air of persuasion, the other side has a right to a mistrial. And they will make a motion to mistry your case, and you'll have to start all over again, and it's just no good. So if you're a pro se claimant, the first thing you need to know is get an attorney immediately. If you can't get an attorney, well, then pay attention to the following tips. There are certain court rules that are going to play larger than others when you're going to go forward. And the unfortunate thing about our workers' compensation system in Washington state is we haven't made it easy to navigate like they have in some other states. It's very simple to relax the rules of evidence and procedure. They've done it in New York, they've done it in other states, but they haven't done it here in Washington because they want you, as an injured worker, to have less power than your employer does. That's an issue you should take to the legislature right away. Go see our legislative initiatives, our legislative priorities pages here on our website, because we think that's a disgusting arrangement that should be changed. But until it is, you're subject to the notion that the other side gets to use very practiced, very polished attorneys to come in and dominate you and prevent you from speaking in the way you normally would. Because guess what? The court rules are all about preventing you from speaking the way you would like to. For example, most people will say, I went to my doctor and she said, you can't say that in court. It turns out that violates something called the hearsay rule. What is hearsay? Hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted therein. Doesn't matter if it's a document. Here, judge, please read this document. It's from my doctor. My good doctor was kind enough to write you a narrative and tell you what was going on with my case. No, I'm sorry. The other side is going to object. Hearsay, Your Honor. And the court must respectfully decline to look at your evidence. And if you say, I went to the doctor and the doctor said, you're reporting the out-of-court statement made by the doctor. You're trying to report it for the truth of what you understand the doctor to have said, and therefore it's within that definition of hearsay, an out-of-court statement offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted therein. You can't say it. And so how can you talk if you can't use normal speech patterns that we all use in our everyday speech? Well, you've got to talk through implication. And what I mean by that is you got to say, okay, so I got injured at work, and then I knew I was injured, so I went to the doctor. And we talked about things, and I went over everything that I was feeling, and the doctor did examinations. And then, after I went from the doctor, I scheduled surgery. Okay? Now, what did we not discuss? We didn't discuss the fact that your doctor recommended surgery for your work-related injury. Because it turns out you can't say it, but if you just fill in all of the information around what happened, The rest of us, we know. Because in the normal course of things, your doctor won't send you off to surgery unless they recommend surgery, okay? And so that's one of the ways we work with the court rules. You can't say he said, she said, they said. You can talk about what I said. If your employer is in the room and they're a party, you can talk about what the employer said, because that comes within an exception to the hearsay rule. There are other exceptions to the hearsay rule, and it turns out all of those exceptions, all of that is available to you if you go to Google. And you should spend a lot of time on Google or any other search engine that you prefer, and try to learn the court rules as best as you can. Try to have an idea what those mean. And if you can't find an attorney, you know, I very often take my evening hours and I dedicate those to pro se claimants who are not able to obtain counsel, and for whatever reason. And sometimes they have very, very legitimate claims, for example, but look, unfortunately, it won't justify the amount of time and expense the attorney needs to expend on that matter. It's hugely important to the injured worker, but you know, the attorney can't make the economics work, so their law firm won't wade in on a given problem. That's very often why people end up pro se, okay? So if you have that problem, give us a call. I may be able to give you some time in the evening or on a weekend. I'll talk to you on my cell phone. I'll try to help coach you through these things. I'll do the best that we can do on that, because unfortunately we can't represent everybody. We're one of the largest law firms in the state of Washington, certainly, that deals with workers' compensation, and even we can't help everyone. So if you're a pro se claimant, give us a call. Let us try to help. Keep trying to find an attorney, study the rules, and we do wish you the very best.